Hey everyone, I hope you are all having a wonderful day. Today's video is all about inspiration for creating art. So if you've ever wanted to create, draw, paint, but you are lacking inspiration or you're staring at a blank page and you don't know what to create, I have 10 tips for finding inspiration for your art. Now, it's funny because one of my tips has to do with nature, and I brought in some leaves, and this one here has decided that she's very interested in the leaves that I brought and the pine cones, which is one of the tips. So we're going to talk about that. If you are new to my channel, this is Kitty, and she is my little helper slash supervisor when it comes to doing my videos. So we are going to jump in. I'm going to give you 10 tips and show you 10 ways to be inspired to create art that is basically true and unique to you. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to flip the camera over and we're going to get started. Okay, I have an inspired Kitty here, but we are going to get her to have a little break. And the first tip that I have when it comes to finding inspiration for creating unique and interesting artwork is going out into nature and finding things that inspire you. I love these leaves. I'm missing one, so she must have grabbed the other leaf that I took. But I love this time of year just for not just nature, but like the colors. Like, look at that beautiful shade of red. I'm afraid she's going to scratch me as she tries to get it. And I love collecting pine cones. I'm not just inspired by shapes and colors, and just being out in nature is a great way to sort of awaken your senses and get away from the busyness of life and be inspired by all that's around you. The other great thing that I find about going outside in nature and finding inspiration for your artwork is the fact that this is free. It's free to go outside, to look at your surroundings and become inspired by what you see, smell, hear, just breathing in the fresh air and finding things that Mother Nature has made. In fact, I would say this time of year is like Mother Nature's greatest art. All the beautiful colors and getting ready for winter. There's something really magical about the fall season. So that's the first tip for becoming inspired to create is get outside, get into nature, look around you, see what's out there. Maybe you're inspired by the water, maybe you're inspired by trees. It doesn't matter, but I guarantee you, even just looking out your window and seeing what's going on outside is a great way to become inspired to create art. When I look out my window and I see all these glorious fall colors, I just want to paint. I want to paint, not even draw, I want to paint. So that is my first tip for becoming inspired for creating some art. Here are a couple of paintings that I've done that have been inspired by Mother Nature. This is acrylic sunflowers, and I am going to be doing more of these. This is a palette knife painting that I did. And if you're inspired by the gorgeous colors of the season, sunflowers are one of my favorites just before fall hits. And there's still some sunflowers out now. They're kind of dying off right now. But I really become inspired to paint when I see gorgeous colors of yellow for sunflowers and the reds of the leaves when the fall season hits. The second thing that inspires me are things from the past. I did a video, I think earlier in the year, about looking for bottles on the beach and how I want to get a metal detector because I just love old things. It could be something as simple as old photos. Somehow this landed with me because I think nobody wanted it. And there's some amazing photos in here. Like there's this photo that was taken, I believe I want to say this was in New York with the, I don't remember what that's called, an airship. And not sure who all these people are, but I'm absolutely inspired by this photo book that I was blessed to be left with. And so I love that. So thrift store items are also a big one. You can be inspired. You don't need to go to the thrift store and buy things, although I did get this cute little cookie tiger, mainly because of the colors and the cute look on his face. I just adored this. So I do have some funny things in my home, but if you surround yourself with things that you love or things that make you emotional, you know, like bring out emotion in you, I think you can create better art, whether it's something fun like this line or something that brings back memories like the cameras and the perfume bottle. You can find inspiration basically anywhere from anything in your home or from your past. In addition to being a collector of old things and lover of nature, the other thing that I like to do to remain inspired is to have different art supplies on hand. So you don't need to have the most expensive art supplies at all. A lot of my videos talk about using a pencil, talk about using like printer paper. You don't have to go out and buy a bunch of stuff. You can use what you have. But over the years, I have collected different art supplies. I love this Hemi gouache. Now, this isn't for everyone. You know, some people don't like the gouache, but I love this Hemi gouache. I've added water to it to reactivate it. I've had this for, it might be 2 years now. And I love it. It's very affordable, and it's lasted me 2 years, and it's going to last me for years to come. There was a time when I felt like I had to have the most expensive art supplies to create and be inspired to create. But it turns out I personally, unless I'm doing a canvas painting, I personally like art supplies that I feel zero guilt with for making a mess, zero guilt if my art doesn't turn out, and I don't feel like I've wasted anything, which is why I use printer paper or sketchbook paper that's very affordable. I've used coffee, I've used food coloring, so you don't even need to go outside your house. You can literally go into your kitchen and get some coffee or get some tea, get some food coloring, and create with that. I always like to say you don't need to have a whole bunch or buy a whole bunch. You can actually use what you have, but play with different materials, whether it's food coloring, coffee, tea, crayons, it doesn't matter. Play with different things and the creative juices will get flowing and you will feel inspired to create. It is so much fun. The next thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to finding inspiration for creating art is books. And it does not have to be art books. If you follow my channel, you know I go to thrift stores a lot and I get a lot of books from thrift stores, or they're gifted to me from friends who've gone thrifting and know I love books. But I have saved some children's books from my past, but also ones that I read my daughter all the time. And one of my favorite books was this one called Ginger by Charlotte Vogue. And the artwork in it is so much fun. It is so cute and inspirational. And sometimes you can just look through something like an old picture book or children's book that maybe you loved to read your child or grandchild, or that you had yourself as a child, and you can be super inspired to create. I love older books. This one was mine when I was a child, and the artwork from the past is so beautiful, especially like the Christmas trees. This is one of my favorite books. I'm sure my mother's watching this and surprised that I saved this book, but I love this book and the artwork in it. And it just reminds me of when I was a kid. So you can be inspired by art from the past and have a look at how these illustrators created the art. And also, I want you to note how all of this artwork, these illustrations, are unique to the person who drew them. It's not about perfection. It's about imagination. And I like looking at the colors. This is one of my favorite ones. Marmalade at Christmas. This is a really cute book that was gifted to me when I was an adult, actually. And I read this to my daughter when she was little. So just because I've always loved cats, somebody gave me this book and I love it. You can see how others have created in a childlike way. And even though this is for kids, You can be inspired by how they drew and painted and created. Inspiration can also be found from old artwork that you have created. So if you have a sketchbook that you keep, it's great to go through it and be inspired by what you did in the past, because it's unbelievable how you forget what you've done. So I don't necessarily keep my sketchbooks as much as I keep my paintings. I think I've mentioned that I do a lot of painting. My YouTube is mostly sketchbooks, but I have done a lot of painting and I love to get these out. These are on like canvas paper or watercolor paper, and I love to get my artwork out and look at it and remember creating it and be inspired by what I've done. Sometimes you forget what you've created and it might be like, oh, I love doing this mark making, or I love adding words, or I love adding little bits of books to my artwork, and it gets those creative juices flowing. Sometimes too, if you don't know what to create, you can start gluing paper onto your sketchbook or your canvas. You could start writing words down, and the next thing you know, you're inspired. Sometimes, actually a lot of times when I'm painting, it's just a matter of putting color down. And once I start putting color and patterns down, like I've used stamps or stencils here, then I start to become inspired. So a lot of times you're not going to be inspired by waiting to be inspired, right? You actually will be inspired when you start putting color down and playing around with the art supplies that you have and seeing what you can create. A lot of my stuff too is just colors and mark making and playing around. It's not always creating something that's going to be perfect or something that's going to sell or something that other people are going to want to look at. A lot of times it's exploring. I do have a few other ideas when it comes to becoming blocked with your art. And the first one that goes back to like getting out into nature and maybe going thrifting and looking at old things or things that inspire you is to take a break and go out there and go to a museum or go to an art gallery or go to, any local art installations that are happening around in your city and being inspired by the art that surrounds you. The other thing that I like, even if it isn't at an art gallery, is there's a lot of murals in cities now that artists have done. And sometimes you can just go for a walk in your own city and look at all the different murals and be inspired by those artists, those street artists that are out there doing these giant murals on buildings that are approved. It's not graffiti. The other thing I wanted to mention was playing without expectations. So going back to the art supplies that I like to use and be inspired by, I play around with them without expectation. Play around, draw, create, paint without expectation. And that way you can get those creative juices flowing and be inspired to create without a fear of failure or a fear of making mistakes. So playing with colors, scribbling, and playing without expectations, starting without an ending in mind. In a lot of my videos, I will paint without having an ending in mind. And that's how I keep creating without feeling like a failure or without feeling like I didn't achieve a goal, because ultimately my goal is to have fun. So if you're feeling blocked, if you're feeling like you ran out of inspiration, if you're feeling like my art isn't good enough, I really encourage you to play with art supplies and practice some things like scribbling or playing with color and making sure you don't have an ending in mind. You don't need to sit down and say, I'm going to draw a face or I'm going to paint a face. I'm just going to play with colors today. I'm just going to play with my art supplies today. I'm going to practice gluing paper onto a canvas and see what comes up and then adding some paint on top of it. Just play around and have fun and explore and like let that inner child out, and the inspiration will just pour out of you. You will be inspired and it's exciting, and I think it will bring you some joy. The last thing I had was take a break. I've taken a break. I haven't done a YouTube video in 5 days? Normally I do a YouTube video every day, but I think I've just been tired and I was like, you know what? Sometimes you need to take a break. I'm excited to maybe head out this weekend and walk around this city and see what's out there. you know, whether it's murals or street art or just Mother Nature itself, it doesn't matter. I'm excited. I think I might try one of these again, this painting where I'm gonna find a print, maybe an old print or maybe a print that's ruined, and then take that print and try to make it into a Halloween painting or a fall inspired painting. So I'll probably do a YouTube video on that and a YouTube video this weekend on going out and about. So I hope these tips and tricks that I provided and just sharing my own experience with becoming inspired to create and finding art inspiration around you. I hope that's helped you. I'd love to hear from you if you have a tip or trick for becoming inspired to create and getting those creative juices flowing and resolving any art blocks that you have. Please leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you, and I'm sure that people watching this video would love to hear from you. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and happy sketching to you.